So I did my literary analysis on Robert Jordan's character development in For Whom the Bell Tolls by Ernest Hemingway. So I'm just going to give you a brief biography of the author of that novel and then just let you guys know what I learned when I was writing this research paper. So Ernest Hemingway was born in Illinois in 1899, and though he was famously known for a lot of novels that he wrote, he also did a lot of journalism. And this was basically the beginning of his career when he first started writing for the Kansas City Star in 1917. Um, so he's really young when he first started journaling. But he also drove an ambulance in the First World War in Italy, and he was forced to return back to the U.S. because he was severely wounded. And his experiences during the First World War pretty much led him to write one of his most famous novels, called A Farewell to Arms. And he also covered uh, the Spanish Civil War in Spain as a war correspondent in 1936. And these experiences that he went through during this time led him to write For Whom the Bell Tolls. And he also won the Nobel Prize in Literature in, 1953. And he was awarded that for The Old Man and the Sea. And he died in 1969 in Ketchum, Idaho. And his wife at the time, Mary, claims that he accidentally killed himself while cleaning one of his guns. But this is highly debated just because he was a regular hunter and an expert in firearms, so nobody really knows. So, Robert Jordan, the protagonist of For Whom the Bell Tolls, is an American explosives expert, and he's fighting on the Republican side during the Spanish Civil War in the year of 1973. He believes in life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, directly from the book. Goltz, the Republican comrade general Robert Jordan is working under, orders him to blow a bridge during an attack on the Fascist Party, which is the side that the Republicans are fighting. This blowing of the bridge is just a small part of a larger attack. So Robert Jordan and his band of guerrilla experts, I don't know if that's how you say it, but it's just, that term basically just means a small band of people working together during a war. Like less than cavalry, but still, somebody working to meet towards, a common goal. So he's led to this camp, and he meets some of the members of this band that he's going to be working with. And the leader of the band initially is Pablo. And Robert Jordan, as soon as he meets Pablo, just basically gets this feeling that he's quote unquote going bad fast, which is from page 17 and For Whom the Bell Tolls. He senses that Pablo just might be the one component of the mission that just might actually ruin what they're trying to do. So, towards the end of the book, it's revealed that Jordan's suspicion of Pablo's disloyalty to the cause is correct. He ends up leaving the camp one night before the bridge is to be blown, and he steals the wooden box with the exploder, the detonators, and the fuse. Pablo comes back the next morning, claiming that he threw the supplies, quote unquote, down the gorge and into the river, from page 389. He explains to Robert Jordan, "When I left, I thought you would know that it was impossible and would give it up. Then after I had thrown away that material, I saw it in another manner." And that's from pages 389 through 390 in the book. So Robert Jordan comes up with a new way to blow the bridge. He uses hand grenades instead of the detonators with the fuses, which using the detonators and the fuses would have been a lot easier, but he's determined to do what he needs to do, so he does it anyways. He ends up being able to successfully blow the bridge, but he's severely wounded in the process. Initially, Robert Jordan is completely dedicated to the Republican side of the war. He feels a quote unquote absolute brotherhood with the others involved in the anti fascist movement, and that's from page 235 in the book. As the novel progresses, however, Robert Jordan begins to struggle internally with his loyalty. He feels an absolute allegiance to the Republican side originally, but begins to doubt even the actions of the Republicans. He seems to move from a state of complete loyalty to the anti fascist side in the Spanish Civil War to something where he's just, wondering if the Republicans are any more honorable than the fascists that he's fought so hard against all his life. In the beginning of the novel, Robert Jordan is completely devoted to the Republican side. He describes being involved in this movement as, quote unquote, part of something you could believe in wholly and completely, from page 235 in the book. He's claims to be an anti-fascist ever since he has understood fascism. And he even states that it would be impossible for Republicans to live in Spain if the fascists won the Civil War. So Robert Jordan goes through many experiences that lead him to question his loyalty to the Republican side. One of the first events that happens to lead Robert Jordan to this internal conflict is the story one of the people in Pablo's band tells him of the day Pablo and the townsfolk killed the local fascist. This woman who's telling him the story, her name is Pillar. And so she begins to tell him, what happened, like how the movement started in a small town. So she goes on to describe this really graphic scene in which, they have these two lines lined up, and the fascists in the town are praying inside this church with this priest, and they're preparing to die basically because the other people, Pablo's band, and the people that are working with him, the townspeople, had taken the town from the fascists, and so the fascists know they're gonna die, and they have Pablo gets these two lines of townsfolk lined up, and they're just armed with whatever they have. They have like clubs and just anything that could be used as a weapon. So they're lined up, and the beginning of the line starts where the fascists will be coming out of the cathedral or whatever, and it ends at this cliff. And so the scene is just the fascists come out one by one, and it takes a while. So they just, they just beat them to death. The townspeople get drunk because they're just so upset genuinely with what's going on. They just take it out on the fascists, even though they're just people, and even though, they might not have necessarily done anything wrong, they're still fascists. So they just beat them to death, and it's just a really violent, graphic, bloody scene. So this flashback is an essential part in Robert Jordan's transition from a complete loyalist to somebody who is at least slightly unsure of what they're really fighting for, which is a huge part of Robert Jordan's character development. Pillar tells Jordan that this was the worst day of her life, excluding one other day, which was 3 days later when the fascists took the town back from them. And all of these events that occur in Pillar's flashback create the impression that leads Robert Jordan to wonder whether or not everyone on the Republican side is truly honorable and just, and what he, wants to be fighting behind. And a second event that leads to his internal conflict occurs when a single cavalryman comes riding up dangerously close to the camp of the band that Robert is with. He is basically forced to shoot this guy because he just gets too close, and he just has to, take the safety of the group in mind, and he just has to do it. So he says to himself, "Don't you know it's wrong to kill? Yes, but you do it. Yes. And you still believe absolutely that your cause is right. Yes." It can be concluded that this event led Jordan to start doubting in himself and his cause because almost immediately after the cavalryman is killed, he begins to have this very contradicting conversation within himself. He begins to wonder exactly how many people he's killed and quickly realizes that he just can't remember because he just killed too many. He wonders, how many of those you have killed were real fascists? Two that I am sure of. And out of the countless people that he's killed, only two were undoubtedly fascist. So he begins to understand that not everyone fighting on the opposite side in the Spanish Civil War is truly the enemy. And Jordan slowly recognizes that the people fighting on the fascist side are human just as he is. So after this sort of internal miniature war that he has within himself, he addresses how bad this kind of thinking is for his work. He tells himself, if you're not absolutely straight in your head, then you have no right to do the things you do, for all of them are crimes, and no man has a right to take another man's life unless it is to prevent something worse happening to other people. And that's from page 304 in the book. He addresses his firm belief in life, love, and the pursuit of happiness, and remembers that if this war is lost on the side that he's fighting for, all of those things are lost right along with it. So he keeps on fighting anyways, despite all of these internal conflicts that he's having within himself, and he remains loyal to his intentions of blowing the bridge for Goltz, though there are some events that occur prior to the demolition that ease Jordan back into this negative way of thinking all over again. Just before the destruction of the bridge, Anselmo, a member of Pablo's band who is aiding Jordan in this attack, has to kill a sentry who is posted at one side of the bridge. Robert Jordan, the protagonist, which I'm focusing this on, also has to kill a sentry, though he doesn't really address his emotions as straightforward and honestly as Anselmo does. Shortly after the sentries are killed, Robert Jordan thinks to himself, he hated to shoot that sentry, so did I, but I didn't think about it. Nor do I think about it now. You have to do that, which is from page 438 in the book. This short glimpse inside what he's thinking after he kills someone and what he's thinking after he sees another person who's fighting on the fascist side being killed, it really shows that he does feel guiltier about killing others than he consciously acknowledges. Though he is aware that these offensive attacks must be made on the fascists and those who fight for them, he's also now more aware of the great cruelty that it is to end another person's life. And this is a significant change in his thinking compared to his mindset in the beginning of the novel. Because before he was just really straightforward and like, I'll do whatever I need to do as long as, someone who's in command tells me to. And Robert Jordan's character development regarding his beliefs on killing and on the Spanish Civil War are also shaped significantly by Anselmo's moral values. Near the beginning of For Whom the Bell Tolls, Anselmo and Robert Jordan are having a discussion focused on the subject of killing. Anselmo explains to Robert Jordan that he loves to hunt animals more than anything, and Jordan explains that he doesn't like to kill animals. Whereas Anselmo takes pride in killing animals because he's proud that he can do something with whatever he kills. So he'll eat the meat or, use the hide or the antlers or whatever for whatever he needs to use them for. But he finds killing men to be equitable to a sin. So he describes to Robert Jordan the pride that he felt when killing an animal during a hunt and the pride he feels after he sees its skin in his house. And yet Anselmo states, of the killing of a man, who is a man as we are, there is nothing good that remains, which is from page 40 in the book. And though both Anselmo and Robert Jordan understand that to win a war, enemies must be exterminated, Anselmo really plants some ideas inside Robert Jordan's head which lead him to not taking killing so lightly anymore. Robert Jordan's character development in For Whom the Bell Tolls is also significantly shaped by the manner of the orders that he's given. He expresses an utter devotion to the Republican cause and to whoever leads their side initially, but after the exact orders of how he has to blow the bridge are given to him, his mind begins to wander. Robert Jordan, quote-unquote, resented Galtz's orders for what they could do to him and for what they could do to this old man, from page 43 in reference to Anselmo. Galtz, the commander, has ordered Robert Jordan to explode the bridge as soon as the offensive attack against the fascists begins. And basically, this attack is set to begin in the morning, so it's going to be occurring in daylight. And this is not good for Robert Jordan and his band because they don't have the cover at night to get away after they blow the bridge, and they're surrounded by fascists. They're behind the lines, so it's not going to be good that they have to, do this during the day as soon as the attack begins. Jordan immediately recognizes that the consequences of these particular orders, knowing how difficult it will now be to escape death from the fascist party after the bridge has been demolished. However, he knows that he must do his duty and follow Galtz's orders regardless of what repercussions may occur. This becomes even more difficult as he forms bonds with the members of Pablo's band and as he falls in love with a girl named Maria. In conclusion, Robert Jordan enters this novel as a completely devoted to the American cause, fighting on the Republican side during the Spanish Civil War. However, as time goes on, Robert Jordan encounters Anselmo and Pillar, both who play a significant role in his character development. Anselmo seems to lead Jordan to wonder whether or not killing another human being is right, and even if they are fascist and it is necessary. Pillar tells Jordan the story of her own town's, success in eliminating their local fascists and how brutal and just traumatizing that was for her. She does this in such an extremely personal way that it just blatantly shows Jordan how evil anyone can be, regardless of what side they fight on. Before hearing her story, Jordan's character was made out to be someone who would always take orders without thinking twice about them. The influence Anselmo and Pillar have on Robert Jordan's character is highly significant in his development from someone who is completely devoted to the Republican side to someone who seems to only be sure that he is anti-fascist and nothing else. Thank you.